welcome back to Spotlight, where we feature the University of Central Arkansas's College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. I'm Donna Lampkin-Stevens, and I'm joined today by my friend and colleague and former student, Hannah Hanshaw, who is our recruiter and advisor for the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. So welcome, Hannah.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So give us a little bit of your background. I know I had you as a first semester freshman, apparently, in Media and Society. So talk about your winding road to where you are now.
Yeah, I did have you in class my very first semester in the fall of 2014, which isn't really that long ago, but feels like a very long time ago now that we've been through COVID. But yeah, I came to UCA in the fall of 2014.
Out of Cabot High School?
Yes, I went to Cabot. I grew up in Oklahoma, on an Osage reservation, and then my parents moved to Arkansas the last couple years of my high school. And so it was just by happenstance that I ended up at UCA, because I was just, of course, going to go to a college in Oklahoma. But when we moved here, and then I kind of wanted to stay close to where my family was, and so I ended up deciding on UCA because, I had friends coming here, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
We have quite a pipeline from Cabot, don't we?
Yeah. And I got to do, when I was at Cabot, I did CHTV, so I got to spend some time in studios like this one, which was really fun, and thought about actually majoring in broadcast journalism, which is how I ended up in your class my very first semester. I was kind of undecided on major. I think I had landed on political science, but wanted to explore, and so luckily we take gen eds, most of our first year, so we have a lot of opportunities, specifically in cause, to take classes in all different areas. So I thought, well, Media and Society, that sounds fun. That's what I'll do. See if I liked that. So yeah, I had you in class that year. I really loved that class. Did not end up majoring in broadcast journalism, though.
Because you find other interests.
Yeah,
right?
So many. I ended up double majoring. So I stuck with political science. The idea initially was to go to law school. So I majored in political science, and I was told by a few people along the way, maybe advisors, like, well, political science is a good choice, but philosophy majors make the best scores on the LSATs. And so I was like, okay, well, let me take a philosophy class. And I took like Introduction to Logic or something like this, and I just fell in love with philosophy. So I picked up a double major and did a whole bunch of other things along the way. But it was definitely the first couple years when I was touching with world religions and media and society and those lower division core classes where I was actually able to like be exposed to the different areas in the college. Because I think a lot of the times our students come here and they've had English and history, and maybe they will have had something art history related or something, but they very rarely are exposed to a lot of our disciplines. So I think that was like kind of how I found my way at UCA. My academic path is that I had an opportunity to kind of explore what was out there that I didn't know about.
So you really are our poster child.
Gosh.
Because of what you can find.
Yeah, it's true.
So after you graduate with a double major in
philosophy and political science.
What year?
2018.
Okay, so did you stick around?
I did, yeah. Okay. I loved UCA so much I just never left. I initially thought about maybe going to grad school for philosophy, and so
So law school went away?
Yeah, no, that was not me. I did do, so the reason I ended up not deciding to do law school is because I did a semester when I was an undergrad in Washington, D.C. So I did an internship with an organization that we partner with called the Washington Center, where we send students to live in their facilities and take classes in their facilities, and then we hook them up with an internship where they get a full 15 hours and they live in D.C., take classes, do internship. It's a really, really remarkable opportunity. And I did that, and I worked on the Hill for a while. I worked for the Office of the House Parliamentarian, which I don't know if you've heard of that before. It's some people think it's rather boring, but basically it's just the office that keeps up with all the parliamentary procedures of the House, which is a lot. So I did that, worked on the Hill. I loved working on the Hill, and I thought, maybe this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back and work in D.C. on Capitol Hill and make a difference and be a legislative assistant. And like, you don't really need a law degree to do such things. And so I was like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. So I tossed around the idea of going back to D.C. when I graduated, and I was still tossing around grad school. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to stay here for a bit. I started working at Torsen Library, where I was a student worker anyway. And so I got a full-time position at Torsen and was helping teaching information literacy and library tours and all the kinds of like library 101 things that freshmen need to know.
And
So-
media literacy things.
Yeah.
That we
Yep.
hit on media and
Yep.
society. Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that stuff is even more important, I think, now
Yeah,
than
I
it
agree.
was when I was, I came in 2014, but since the 2020 election, I think like media literacy, information literacy, I don't think has ever been more important than it is right now in this moment. Especially like these are digital natives that we're getting, right? But they weren't taught those skills, right? Like that's never part of their curriculum in high school, and a lot of the older generations weren't taught that either. But now it's just like super important that they know how
Yeah.
to be able to parse out what's happening and what's real and what's not. So yeah, I just
So you did
stuck
that for
around.
how long?
I was at Torsen for a couple years, and then Dr. Peter Mell, who was our associate dean who retired, a couple years ago, he came to me because we'd known each other from my having done Ethics Bowl in my undergrad as well, and he came to me and said, we're looking for an assistant over in what was then CLA.
College of Liberal Arts.
Yeah, the College of Liberal Arts. And I said, well, that's my home. Like, I love the CLA. Like, this is, yeah, of course. And so I came over and did that for a while. Then we became Cause, which was really exciting.
In 2020.
2020. And that's when the pandemic happened,
Yeah.
which was kind of wild. And I didn't necessarily want to leave Cause, but I had this really unique opportunity to serve as an AmeriCorps Vista for a year in this building, actually, through outreach and community engagement here at UCA, where I worked on poverty studies initiatives and various things to support different underrepresented and underserved student populations, and that was really awesome. And I don't know, there's something cool about being an AmeriCorps member because, well, for one, I got a really great education award. But it's also just like a really great program, and I was excited to be able to do like a year of service here at UCA. And then I came back to Cause.
So you knew that was a one-year commitment?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Okay.
So I did that for 1 year, and I didn't have to leave UCA because I'm here. I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. But I got to do that that year of service and stick around here, and then I came back to the Cause.
And so with the new college, were you hired immediately as the recruiter and the advisor? I'm trying to think of the timeline.
No, there was about, I want to say 6 months
That you worked in the office, isn't it?
that when the CLA was in the beginning of 2020, I left actually right when the new college started.
Okay,
Is when my
okay.
year of service started. So at the outset of the new college, I started in outreach as a Vista, and then came back exactly a year later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I
So-
was around.
So tell us about. Well, I mean, obviously you've experienced all this. You've been in every. How many departments of the 10 have you been in?
Like all of them, basically. Most of them.
So you see the value and the importance of what we do here. So tell us about your job. What's your day-to-day like? Because
Goodness.
it seems like that's 2 jobs.
It is, yeah. It's 2 whole job titles. I actually have 2 separate sets of business cards that I use depending
Okay.
on the situation. So recruiter or academic advisor. My recruiting is fun. That's basically just I get to spend some time on the road going to college fairs and representing our college. Our UCA admissions office is really awesome and they're great. Usually there's a general admissions representative at most college fairs, and that's what they do full time. But I have the unique opportunity to go to specific college fairs or high school visits where I think that it's going to be more meaningful and impactful for Cause or potential Cause students. So I went back to Cabot actually a few weeks ago in particular because they have these various theater and broadcast journalism programs that I think are of interest to potential students to come here. And then I get to go to high school visits, college fairs, connecting with potential students, and getting to really get into the nitty-gritty with them about our programs. And we have a lot of programs at UCA that are the only such program in the state. And high school students don't often know about these things. Like I said earlier, I mean, a lot of times they just don't know what's out there. So I think that those are really fun now that we're actually able to go into high schools again.
So how often do you do that?
Oh
Is there a
gosh, it
schedule or-
depends.
okay.
So it's kind of just like a mathing game where I decide like, okay, well, do we think it's worth our time and resources to go to this particular high school or college fair? There are a few that I go to every year, like the major ones in Little Rock and the Faulkner County ones. And then the other ones, it just kind of depends on what my schedule looks like. I was mentioned earlier, it's very unfortunate that recruiting season in the fall also just happens to align perfectly with advising season. So it kind of just depends on what I have the capacity to do and what I think would be the best use of our resources as far as connecting with students goes.
So where, besides Faulkner and Pulaski County, where have you been?
Oh, I spent some time in Northwest Arkansas in September, and that was cool. We did, a lot of the times, it's really strategically planned where they have 2 or 3 college fairs in the same area in the same day. What I think is, I mean, other than connecting with potential students, what I find really fun about these college fairs is like all the recruiters from the various areas like know each other and they're kind of pals, and they like go out and have dinner afterwards and stay at hotels near each other and hang out. And so yeah, I've spent some time in Northwest Arkansas and have done Little Rock and Hot Springs and
Really all over.
Central Arkansas. Yeah.
So what's the, what's the reception you get from, what's the mood about UCA out in the state?
Usually, when they talk to me in particular, people tend to get like excited because I don't know that usually when you have like a university-wide recruiter, it's very much like, here's our faculty to student ratio, here's the things that are on our talking points. And I think those are really important things to share with potential students. But I get excited talking to students because I have the unique opportunity to talk to them about our specific programs, of which, like you mentioned, most of them I have been in or involved in or around or taken a class in. And so my favorite thing about that is that I get to, a lot of the times, just tell them personal stories about my experiences.
And they love to hear that.
Oh yeah, that's their favorite thing. So I'll get somebody who says something about, maybe I want to go to law school, and I'm like, oh, well, do you do debate at your school right now? And then I can tell them about our debate or our ethics bowl program or things like that. And all kinds of different opportunities. They're like, I'm kind of interested in teaching English like in another country, and I'm like, oh, well, that's really great. We have a TESOL program that can get you certified to do that, and you could spend a semester studying abroad if you want. Let me tell you about my study abroad experience and stuff like that, which I think is really fun, and I think that they find meaningful.
I think you're perfect for this. I mean, you're young and you're vibrant, and so I think you would be very attractive to potential students.
It's fun.
So,
yeah.
So do we have some success stories? Have you?
Oh yeah, my favorite is when I get to meet students on the road, and then they come in and they're my advisees.
Oh yeah.
Because like it's weird. It started off like when I initially started advising, I was undeclared, so I only advised every undeclared student university-wide. Currently, my advising load includes about 27 of our major programs across various departments, languages, history, social studies, philosophy and religion, and political science. So I get now a lot of the students that I connect with about those particular programs then become my advisees when they get admitted, which is really cool. I hate it though whenever like they remember me and I don't remember them. I mean, it's fair because I see a lot more of them than they do of me. But I'm like, oh, I don't remember that, but it sounds like it was a really meaningful interaction, and I'm glad to have met you then.
And obviously they remember you.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's
so let's talk about advising. We've moved to the professional advising.
Yeah.
So tell us about like how many advisees do you have?
Something over 200.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to say maybe 260-ish.
Okay.
I'm really excited about this transition to the 4-year professional
from faculty advisors.
Right. Not because I don't think that there's so much value in what faculty we're doing, but I think that faculty, I think, are in a really great place to do the mentoring.
Absolutely.
And they're in a really great place to guide you through the grad school application process and what kinds of things, that kind of thing. I don't think that it's should be expected that faculty know the nitty gritty of let me make sure you have 40 instead of 39 upper division credit hours before spring type, nitty gritty degree planning stuff. So I think it works out for all of us because it gives us, the advisors, a chance to make sure that all of that nitty-gritty stuff the degree planning is on track, and then it gives the faculty more time to do that mentoring, which I think is really great.
So, and you have from freshmen everybody.
So we keep them until, so historically we have, I think, they went to their faculty advisors somewhat around
their junior year.
Junior year,
so,
okay.
So this is the transition for everybody.
Yeah.
So instead of moving them out. So What kinds of questions do you get from your wide range of,
Oh gosh.
Of advisees?
You know, it's funny. I jokingly say, I was complaining the other day that, I was like, you know what? These kids are digital natives. And I swear to you, 80% of the questions, probably more than I get, 80% of the questions I get via email are like, would be answered by that magical UCA Google search bar. It's just like registration deadlines or whatever.
Yeah.
So I do field a lot of emails that are quickly Googleable things, but also, I have a lot of meetings. My one-on-one meetings with students are often a lot more like, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? Because I find, and this I see in high schools too, the students say like, they come here because this is just the next thing to do, right? Like your guidance counselor just says, you go to college, right?
Yeah. And they have no idea what they want to do.
Right. And so then
they shouldn't, Hannah. I mean, I tell students and parents all the time, it's silly to think when you're 17 or 18 that you need to have your whole life
planned out.
Yeah.
And even if you planned it out, the odds that it would actually work out exactly according to that plan and you wouldn't change.
Yeah. But is there angst? I mean, do they?
Yes. So this is a lot of what I do. It's like, here's what I'm really interested in, and I really love this class, and I like studying this thing, but I'm worried that I won't be able to get a job, or I'm worried that, I get a lot of students concerned that their parents wouldn't approve of what they choose as a major or whatever. And, I do a lot of saying exactly what you just said. Like, you're 18 years old.
Yeah. There's
no reason that you need to have an entire life plan right now in this moment. We need to come up with a plan for your registration for next semester.
One bite at a time.
And to get through the semester, and then we'll tackle that,
And in the meantime, they're exploring, and so talk about that aspect. I mean, this is where we explore.
Yeah,
our
that's
college.
Exactly right. Yeah. Well, and this is kind of like how my academic experience came together is that I had this opportunity to explore lots of the different areas in our college, and that's how I just through exploring is how I found what I love to do and how I ended up at UCA and how I plan to continue. I think that our students in particular, this generation that's coming, I think they were very traumatized by COVID, and they're just very anxious.
So you had 2 years pre-COVID.
Yes. Yeah.
But not as an advisor.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit. What because they had 2 years of high school, or 1 or 2 years here at UCA where they were just sort of isolated. And what are you seeing?
I worry that they are a little bit less academically prepared than the pre-COVID groups. My bigger concern with that is really like that I think that we might just need to adjust our expectations, not at the sacrifice of rigor or what have you, right? But I just think that this group it's different. I really do think that they experience like a sort of collective trauma.
And you're talking about all years.
I mean, at this point, the ones that I've got, yeah. I mean, because the ones that are my seniors, they had this was like the beginning of their college experience. So they've made it through, and they're very resilient, but the incoming freshmen in particular I worry about. Yeah.
But they are resilient, as you say, and after a semester or two, they'll find their legs.
Yeah. And I do think, like you said, I think that this new model of 4-year advising is really going to be helpful for them, because we're just now getting into the groove of it with our seniors, but it's going to be really impactful, I think, to have a touch point that can be their go-to person to answer their questions, even if they're silly ones that I could, Google, and also to answer their bigger questions, like what help you answer your bigger questions, like what should I do with my life? I think it's going to be really impactful to have that touch point through the whole time that they're here.
And this is the first semester we've got seniors. The first year we have seniors.
We rolled out, our college rolled ours out this last summer is when we officially did the 4-year advising for our college.
So what do you say to parents who don't want their student to study theater because they don't think, I mean, they know they love it, but they're afraid that they can't find a job, or philosophy, or some other. So what's your pitch?
Well, there's two main things. The one thing is that the skills that we teach in things like philosophy and in things like theater aren't just here, why don't you just regurgitate a bunch of ideas from old white male philosophers, you know, from way back when? Or here are these like acting classes, like in theater in particular, you know, there's a heavy focus on the technical aspects of that. And in philosophy, we're teaching things that are like critical thinking. These are skills that we're teaching: literacy, information literacy, critical thinking, things like this.
Really all over our college.
Right. Yeah. So this is just the two examples that but this is what I'm saying, all across the board. These are skills that are marketable and also just like make for good humans that will be successful in the world. And that's, I think, what is most important. The other thing that I say to parents is like, I see students who come in and they major in business because they were told to major in business because they'll get a job majoring in business, and then they're in micro and macroeconomics in the same semester, and they don't even like math, and they're not even interested in what they're doing, and so they don't do well academically, and they, I don't know, lose scholarships or have GPA issues come up and things of the sort because they aren't doing what they want to be doing. That's not to say that you can't major in something that you don't really love and be successful at it. I see it all the time. But I just, in my experience, I don't see students do well academically studying things that they're not interested in.
And at what price? I mean, you're successful.
Right.
But
are you fulfilled?
Yeah.
I think our students find fulfillment. At the very least. I think that they're successful, but I think they also find fulfillment in what they do.
And we need both.
Yeah, that's true.
So what's the parent pushback? When you say that, do they get it? Or?
Yeah, I probably don't say it as
Yeah, sure.
No, yeah, I mean, I did have one parent over the summer at a SOAR, which is an orientation session that we do over the summer with our students, and I had undeclared students at the time, and you know, the student was talking to me about their areas of interest, which were kind of humanities and liberal arts focused, and the parent was standing there and was concerned about it. And I said, well, you know, like, I have a major in philosophy, and like, here I am doing this, and I think I could probably go do any number of other things successfully with the skills that I've acquired. And she said, yeah, well, what do you make?
Oh.
I was like, well, I don't feel comfortable telling you that, but I feel really fulfilled and happy with my job. So,
and you can go find another job if you want to.
That's true. I mean, if I were to leave higher ed, which I love higher ed, but it's true that we don't get paid the greatest. But if I were to leave higher ed, I could probably make twice what I'm making now doing any number of other things because of these skills that I learned. And so, yeah, this is what I tell people. But sometimes they're still mostly concerned about how much you make.
I mean, the parents want them to be successful, but they also want them to be fulfilled.
That's true.
Yeah. And everybody shouldn't be a business major.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So I know you're meeting yourself coming and going.
Yeah.
Do you have plans for, I mean, what can you do to sort of streamline or are you just maxed out at 170%?
You know, I have a great team. I have, well, two great teams. I work with advising and with the dean's office.
But you're solely based in the dean's office. If students want to see you as a
yes, my office is physically in the dean's office suite in McCaslin. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have great teams that help me. It is a unique job. I think it's the only one on campus where it's kind of half and half, or two separate jobs. But I have really great teams that help me out with things, and I do a lot of group advising and a lot of emailing, and I email at nights, and you know, we keep up, we manage. It's usually just this time of year that's the most crazy.
Yeah. Twice a year during each semester. So do you hear from students all the time, even for non-advising questions?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like I have a problem with my roommate, and I don't know what to do about. Oh yeah. This is why I'm telling. Yeah, it's all the things, which I think is good for them. Like I said, it's good for them to have a touch point. But yes, it's a lot of So
what do you tell them if they have problems?
Well, in that particular instance, there's a housing process, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I will be there to support you, but there's a process that one has to go through, and here's the link to the grievance procedures, and blah blah blah, and if you want to get out of your lease, it's going to cost you about $500. So be aware of that. Yeah. But yeah, I get that kind of stuff all the time.
Did you expect that?
Not really. No. I thought, well, I've majored in half of these programs, so I can get somebody through a degree check sheet.
Yeah.
No, and I'm currently enrolled in the College Student Personnel Administration graduate program here on campus. And that has actually been a lot more helpful to me than I thought it would be at first. I'm not going to lie to you, at first I was like, I just need to get a master's degree because we're in higher ed, so just go get a degree. But it has really helped me to reframe my advising to more of like a developmental perspective, because really when I came into it I was like, I just need to get these kids to check these boxes and get their degree.
Well, you've become an all-around advisor.
Yeah. So that's been really helpful to me to try to see them like as a whole person. And I see them a lot, and what I see on their screen is here's the grades, here's the GPA, here's the whatever, and then when they come into my office, what like life is happening to them. That's what I call it. They're saying things are happening and all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, so life is happening while you're also trying to do school, and that's understandable. And so we try to get them through that, but having this sort of holistic approach of like, this is a real human person who also has life happening and is also trying to do school has been like
and has been dealing with the pandemic.
A good reframe. That's exactly right.
Years.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So tell me about your graduate program. What do you hope to do? I mean, have you decided? I mean, you could do a number of other things.
Yeah, it's true. I plan to stay at UCA for the foreseeable future. I really like working with students, so I don't know if it'll always be in this particular role, in this advising capacity. When I did my Vista year, I really found a passion for supporting and providing services and programming for underrepresented student populations. So I'm currently the co-advisor for PRISM, and I'm really passionate about that particular community. And yeah, I just really find it deeply meaningful to help provide support for specifically underrepresented students. So I'm hoping to get more involved in that kind of work, either through advising or whatever kind of way, but yeah.
So have you just started? Or
as the PRISM advisor?
No.
No, I started last fall.
Okay.
So hopefully on my little expedited degree plan, because I'm an advisor, so I show up to my faculty advisor's office with like 3 different versions of a degree plan, and he's like, wow, this is a lot. And I was like, well, this is what I do. So
yeah.
I'm hoping to finish up my thesis and have it submitted to the graduate school by August. Next August. Yeah, so
and
spring.
Then graduate December of 24?
Yeah.
Is that the plan?
Yeah. Or actually walk. I'll probably, the goal is to actually be conferred a degree in August. And walk in December if I choose.
What's the thesis?
I am going to be doing a topic on, so we use predictive analytics in advising to determine the level of support a student might need. Students don't know about this, and there's not a lot of research out there about whether or not they care. There's a bunch of research on students and predictive analytics and learning analytics and big data in general, and they tend to not care because their data has been mined for everything else for as long as they've been alive. But I'm interested particularly in if students have thoughts or feelings about us using predictive data points to determine how likely we think they are to need lots of extra help, or how successful they're going to be based on some data points. So I think that's interesting.
How will you do that?
I'm probably going to do some focus groups with students and surveys and things of the sort. Like I said, there's a lot of data out there that suggests that students don't really care in general about their use, the use of their data in learning analytics. But in particular, I wonder, if we're using, your zip code to determine that you're going to be high risk or high support need. I don't know. I just feel like students might have thoughts and feelings about that, and I would like to know what those thoughts and feelings are.
So you haven't started yet?
No. Okay. Well, I've done the research, but I haven't actually sat down with any students yet. So
I think you're onto something.
We'll see how that goes in the spring.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Well, you're a busy young woman.
I try. I try to get some sleep.
I'm glad you're part of our team.
Me too. Yeah.
We'll have you on again sometime.
Okay. Yay. This was fun.
Join us again next time for Spotlight.